Sanibonani, Dumelang, Afsheni. You might be wondering, Kimang Jiman. My name is Amo Mohamme, and welcome to the Doning Experience. Today I get Amegiliwan. I have two amazing guests joining us, my fellow comrades. Dumelang.
Sawubona.
Njani mnumzane?
Ngiyaphila.
Ngiyaphila. Please introduce yourself to our fellow viewers.
Igama Henry Masuku. I am with Build One South Africa.
Okay.
Joined by my colleague.
I am Keitumetse, and I'm also from Build One South Africa.
Oh, Keitumetse. What's up, okay? Mabopan?
No, not even. Pretoria. Spitori.
Oh, Spitori.
Yes.
Marabastad?
No, not even. Now, Kukulenyana. On the east side.
Oh, on the
Pretoria,
east side.
On the east
the
side.
fun side of it.
The fun side. Yes.
With Henry, I'm asking myself, Kante, aren't you like Ngomezulu? Something. Because I was just having a conversation with you and I heard you speaking Zulu and I'm like, oh, now address by speaking Zulu.
I do speak Zulu.
Where are you from?
Born and bred in Joburg.
Oh.
Originally, my family comes from KZN,
Okay.
but born and bred in Joburg because of those family dynamics and stuff. But spent most of my life in between Orange Farm and Joburg. Schooled here, went to varsity here, and I've lived almost all my life. Yeah. Of course, we do make trips home, but
when you said born and bred, I was already anticipating long Pumawamashu, go to straight. You know, I'm already imagining that, but it's. I see that you're still in touch with your roots. Ngayana Pitor straight, primary, high school, everything there. Everything there.
Everything.
I saw maybe.
No, not even. My family is from Limpopo though. So I'm like Peritswana, like that mixture.
Peritswana.
Yeah, so.
Wait, Peritswana, I'm trying to understand. The mom's side is Tswana?
No, it's Peri.
Peri.
Yes.
Amo Tswana. Finish and clear. Because I understand the other side is Tswana, right? I'm saying that because I'm Tswana.
Yeah.
And I'm taking ownership of it. No, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today. And congratulations on your campaign that you were pushing for, the signatures to be on the ballot. Yep. I mean, 140 signatures, right?
Yes.
40,000 signatures. Yes. How is that? The whole experience, the whole journey, before we can diverge deeper into your political space. But how was the journey into saying, okay, we are going to get these signatures?
Amo, if you remember, our journey didn't start with just trying to collect signatures.
Mm-hmm.
Our journey started quite some time back. In fact, when we were in the forefront of trying to change the electoral practices in South Africa.
Right.
You'd remember we went to court to try and include independent candidates onto the ballot. So we've done this kind of work. So this was just another hurdle that we had to pass. Of course, Concord denied us a hearing when we said the amount or the quota thereof that they used to say new parties that want to be on the ballot need to get this certain amount of money. So we had some problems with that, but it didn't stop us because we speak to people.
Yes,
we are leading people on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We are not some spaza shop. We are working with people on the ground. So when we approached people to say, here is this new regulation that speaks to this, our people were very forthcoming. They understood what we are doing. They believe in our ideology. So they gave us the signatures, 140,000.
I mean, 140,000, it's not a joke.
Yeah. I think I'll speak more on the practicality side on the ground, as you mentioned.
Right.
With obviously getting those signatures. Convincing people, not necessarily convincing, but I'm trying to tell people about the party and obviously the leader of the party. People can connect to that, right?
Yeah.
But then when we speak about another extra layer, collecting signatures in order to support the party to get on the ballot, South Africans are not educated enough on that, first of all. South Africans are not even educated about the amount of parties that are there. So yes, it sounds as simple as we were able to get those signatures, but there was an educational level that came with it as well in order to educate the people on the ground as to this is why we need the signatures. And I feel like as the IEC or as parties as well, we
Yeah.
have that responsibilities to educate the people with regards to what, if we say we're going forward like this is what we need people to understand, what those signatures translate to and what those mean. So I think we still have a long way to go with it. But yeah, that was an extra layer to it that posed a difficulty for us as a party, and I'm supposed other parties as well.
On that note, how many parties do we have now?
300 and what?
Whoa.
The 345 or 75, but the number is just about 300.
Yeah, 300. Around 300 parties.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All registered. Active.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between registered and on the ballot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think registered,
you flex different.
That one. We have to speak about that one.
I think registered, we have more than 1,000.
Yeah.
But on the ballot, I think preliminary.
It's a different language.
I will all be shocked on the 29th of May.
Yeah, you'll be shocked.
So let's not.
I mean, yeah, it's rather. I feel like the 29th of May is really close.
It is.
It's creeping in,
7
and the
to 6
more.
days.
Damn, you're already counting.
Obviously, how can you not?
You don't know.
We are focused people.
You don't count?
You guys are focused.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm not focused. I am, of course. Yes, I am. But in that note, when did the journey of you tapping into the political space start? Was it something that you've always wanted to do, or I don't know, maybe you did something in high school, you were part of a caucus in high school? Because I know most people, their journeys start in high school, whereby they're in those caucuses or in varsity, right? But I just want to know, with your guys' experience, when did you say, okay, now I'm going into this space?
So I always answer this question like this. At a very young age, I found myself being involved in leadership tasks of some sort. And, this is even before I got to grade 7, when I could see what's happening or even start connecting dots,
Right.
Found myself being elected into the school prefect body, and to a point where I became the head boy of my school,
Doesn't come as a surprise.
So from there, I went to varsity. In varsity, I always was involved to some degree, but not actively to say this is the path I'm pursuing.
Okay.
Until a day came, and I remember that day very well in 2013.
I love this already.
I was sitting. If you went to vets, you would know about the famous green benches. Now, I was sitting on one of those benches and thinking about how I was about to get excluded from school because I wasn't performing so well. And then some Samaritan some guy came and said with me, and we spoke about our interests and all that.
Yeah.
And he said to me right away, my brother, I've spoken to more than 100 students who are going through what you're going through. And I want us to galvanize ourselves with those 100 plus. Wow. That was the day that my active, intentional political journey started.
So before you had the information, you had the zilch, but the intentionality was not there.
I don't know if it wasn't. I think it wasn't obvious because when people had to be elected to be head boys and whatnot, I forwarded my name. Yeah. So there was always that interest, but I didn't think it was going to be something that I pursue professionally.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me get this right. In order for you to be a prefect head boy, people need to vote for you. Right?
Yeah, your class.
Your class needs to vote for you.
Yeah, depends on me.
So your class saw you fit to be their leader.
Yeah, they did see me fit, but I always led in many spaces as well. Academically, I was able to assist them. So I was a very likable person in school. So people were always going to vote for me.
You've been a leader. You've been a leader.
Yeah, I've led.
Okay, you do.
My story is pretty much the same, but a little different.
Prefect.
I have the story of being the minority in each and every single place that I've been in since a young age.
Yeah.
We obviously post that thing, in the challenge in South Africa of, our parents having to decide to put us in schools far away or, that are more not in our communities because the schools that are further are able to, give us that education that our kids can afford or that our kids need in order to advance in life. So that was my story. So my mom, took us to a majority white school, if I can put it like that.
Okay.
By we, I mean I'm a twin. That's why I say we the whole time.
You're a twin?
So, yes, I am. So
many things to mention.
Yeah. So, our parents took us to those schools. And fortunately, I happened to be the odd one out always, from primary school all the way to high school. But I found myself in leadership positions all the way. I was head girl as well in my school. And I'm like, out of 3 Black kids in the whole entire school.
What?
Right? Yes. So that is kind of my story with regards to that. And I think I've always had phenomenal teachers, funny enough, who planted seeds in me to understand that there is a voice inside of me and I should use that voice for the greater good and also to speak up for, because when you're a minority, everyone always speaks over you, isn't it? So I had to use my voice to be able to elevate the other kids in the schools and all of those things. And that continues all the way until like in varsity. I like to believe where I continue to use my voice. I also have always been irritated by the lack of curiosity of young people. Like, are you not curious why people are begging on the street? Are you not curious why our streets are so dirty? Are you not curious? Like, that level of curiosity to critically think about the things that are happening around us is what actually inspired.
And do you think that this generation is overruled by ignorance?
Yeah, 100%. Like half and half. In essence.
Okay.
Let me put it like that. Not fully. Half and half.
Yeah.
I think we are a product of our circumstances. I think if we do not put an environment for young people in order to thrive and think in that way, we can't blame them for not thinking in that way in the first place. But at some point, we hold the responsibility to make the decisions for ourselves, to be able to step into those places, to make the changes and be curious, right? It is our decision at the end of the day. So, yeah, half. If I didn't have the seed planted, I don't think I would be in this place.
That's where I wanted to come to.
So we also, now Henry and I hold the responsibility to be actionable and plant those seeds into like the next generation or the younger people after us, if I can put it like that.
Do you think that as young people, our voices heard the way we want to be heard, or we are not doing enough to be heard?
Hey, Downing Experience is sponsored by Dreamstream. If you'd like to support us directly and gain ad-free version of our episodes, click on the link below.
Let me take this and say, as she rightfully puts it, we are a product of our circumstances. Right. In itself, I remember someday we were having a discussion about the way that young people express themselves. There was a topic about how we, as young people, are able to go on social media and trying to put across good points about a certain topic.
Right.
But our manner of approach or articulation, the language that we use, takes away the whole point of what we are trying to communicate. So I think what we are suffering from right now is a generational gap. The difference in the generational gap is what's causing us to come across as aggressive or whatever the case may be. But we are simply responding to the circumstances we live in. So it's difficult for the older ones to understand this.
How we feel at this point.
How we feel and how we communicate at this point. So there is a need for further education on both sides.
100%. I think what I was trying to say is also the 1976 generation had leaders for them to be able to guide them into how to do what they did.
Right.
We need those leaders to guide us in order to be able to voice our opinions the way it rightfully needs to be proposed in any case. So, but I don't think there's a lack of that education passing. So we're doing it the only way we know how, in essence. So they can't blame us that we're doing it this way because we were never educated otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And also we have to speak up. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. So unfortunately, yes, it's going to be done in a manner that is unfortunate, right? But at the end of the day, it is done. And unless we are going to be taught how to or educated in how to do it rightfully, we're just going to continue having our voice being loud and being heard no matter how it's done.
So with us having to getting our voices heard, does it boil back to our different backgrounds and demographics, whereby we react differently? For instance, you would get students that come from, a Model C school. When they protest, it's quite different. Where else you'd get students from a rather public school, an informal settlement school, doing it differently. For the C school, it's a very peaceful march, right? And then with, the public school, it's a very, what I would call aggressive manner. But in essence, it's how they feel inside. So it boils back to that.
Absolutely.
And then what's your take with our education system at this very
I just
day
want to
and
correct you on
age?
something.
Right.
I don't think it's aggressive. I just think they get to a point where they're not given a chance but to be aggressive. They wouldn't have to be aggressive at this point if they were addressed in the first place.
So they wouldn't be aggressive
No,
if
I
they
don't
were
think
addressed
so.
in the first place.
I mean, if you were delivered basic service and you were given the chance to live life at the same level as a model
right.
school kid, why would you be aggressive then?
Which makes sense.
It really boils back to being a product of
Yeah.
our circumstance. So we can take so much, but the consequence we can't take it, and it's the way we respond just
100%.
is how exactly
So we
feel
need,
at that point.
eventually everybody needs to be heard.
Yeah,
Yep.
100%.
I mean, looking at the education system that we have now, right? And over the years, it has changed, right? I think probably before, I think in 2014, we were using a different syllabus.
Yeah.
Now it's CAPS
CAPS.
throughout. And with CAPS throughout the years, the numbers for the pass requirements have been decreasing from 40% to 30%, which is quite worrying. That are we going to reach probably a 20%, and whereby does it diminish the level of quality of our education?
100%.
My brother, if I'm a nurse by profession, by the way, if you came to my practice and I say to you, hey, Amo, welcome, man. We're going to look after you here. We're going to make sure you get fine.
Yeah.
But just remember, I only know 30% of the work that I'm supposed to do for you. How does that make you feel? Looking at your nurse or a doctor saying to you, I know only 30%.
I'm already uncomfortable by that statement.
My brother, our education system is in shambles, man.
It is.
It's in shambles, and it's been in shambles for almost 2-3 generations now. You know? We are teaching our young people not to strive for excellence, just the bare minimum. We are asking them to achieve simply the bare minimum and not strive for excellence. Forgetting the fact that when they are done with their, when they matriculate, when they get to grade 12,
right,
they go to a university where they have to compete.
Yeah.
Like my question is, like, how low are we gonna go in the first place?
Yeah.
I'm passionate about education, for one. I'm pursuing my PhD, so I understand like how important education is for me and how it has helped me advance. It's not the only key. There's multiple, but it is a key.
It plays a role.
And if you're not going to present that as a proper one to the kids to take in order to pursue their careers or anything like that, what are we doing in the first place? I also think South Africa's education systems lack a level of competitiveness. Like, we need to be able to compete. I love that about school, is that the person above me and myself were in competition about who's going to be above them.
Of course.
We need to do that in kids. We need to inspire that, because that's what happens in the world when you get into corporate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a competition wherever you go. So if you don't breed that and build that already on a like foundational level, what do we expect? What are the kind of young people are going to walk into our corporates then? Or environment, healthcare, wherever.
And I think with our education system, it really doesn't allow us to think.
It doesn't.
Critical thinking.
We only find that when we get to the higher stage of education.
It's too late by then.
You know, it's like, how?
There's a study that came last year saying that, I think it's, I can't remember the firm that did the study, but it says that kids between 3 and 5, if not 6, in South Africa currently, is about 80% of them who cannot read for meaning and understand. At 8. You don't know how to read for meaning and understand. When are you going to catch up? When are you going to catch up?
Grade 4.
Yeah, until grade 4.
You know?
Yeah.
So by the time these kids start learning and reading for understanding, it's too late. You know, some of us went to varsity not knowing how to properly operate a computer. Because we simply didn't have those things in hands.
Yeah, we didn't have those things.
You know, so you get to varsity while other kids are figuring out chemistry and, figuring out their actual coursework.
Yes.
You are figuring out how to create a spreadsheet, how to create a document, how to type your assignment on Excel.
Adding a footer.
And then we have to put a boy.
Can I be honest? I think this is a problem only, like, it's not even just a problem with kids who didn't have access to technology.
Yeah. Right.
It's a problem with kids who are Model C school kids. I was a lecturer, and lecturing these kids, I was just astonished by the lack of the ability to critically just frame like an answer. And now you have technology also that does it for me because you have ChatGPT that answer, but you can tell that this is not your answer in any case. But yeah, it's getting worse and worse. That's actually what I want to say is their ability to think for themselves because there's so many options for other people to think for them.
Because the only thing that they can do is to remember, right? If I can just remember this, write it, and then I'm good, right? Now, speaking of the youth, right, as we know that we've recorded the highest number of registered youth with this year's upcoming elections, right? And how do you guys mobilize the youth in communities? How active are you with the youth in communities?
Yeah,
go. You're
looking at me.
You are a youth.
Well, it starts with us. Let's start there.
Yeah.
You know, it starts with us and becoming like the example of that.
Of course.
If people are able to see that, you know, Keitu is active in participating in our democracy, and I also educate as to why. I think living it is the best educational experience also. And they can see, oh, she's living it and this is how we can take part. Like people would just ask me like on Instagram, how do we sign a petition against this? What does this mean? And I answer those things. That's on the first. But like now on the ground, as we are on a like day to day, one, it's about taking them with. I think that's the most experience is the best way to learn in case we have any high youth unemployment rate. So you have a high number of youth sitting, doing nothing in any case. So the best way is to just take them with on the ground to be able to experience what people are experiencing on the ground and to see how people actually in South Africa are living and it's in like dire circumstances. But also we have our youth movement, which you can speak on.
Yeah, I wanted to get on that. Yeah,
since he's the leader of it. So yeah, getting involved in universities, getting involved in schools, and being able to make sure that young people are involved in that movement and leading the movement in BOSA as well. So yeah, he'll speak further on the youth movement.
Please tell us more on that.
Sure. No, I think firstly, I must of course thank young South Africans who stood and went to register to vote.
Yeah,
I think the atmosphere just in the country called for everyone to be interested. You know, I'm sure you've heard about what's called voter apathy and whatnot, which I have my own thoughts about that. But I think a lot of our people were more interested now because they can see that now, man, isn't as happening actually, you know? So now they have an interest of some sort. So they went to register. Now the job is for us to get them out of their houses or their homes to go and vote.
Yeah.
Come the 29th of May. So
the first phase is done now.
It's done now. Now we must get to phase 2.
The real job is to go and vote. Yeah.
So we encourage everyone who is registered to vote to in fact stand and go vote come the 29th of May.
Please go vote.
Please go vote.
Please go vote.
I'll be looking at your fingers. Thumbs.
Like,
do
the right things.
Yeah.
Please do the right thing.
But speaking about how we are engaging with our youth ourselves, I can speak more to that, but she's covered most of the points that I would have spoken about as well. But we have within our party what's called the Young Builders Movement. That's the political youth wing of Build One South Africa. So our focus really is to speak to young people between the ages of 18 and 35. So we find these people in universities. We find them unemployed, looking for jobs. Job seekers, you know. We find some of them in employment, either doing their own businesses or
some are self-employed,
some self-employed, some in corporate, you know, that type of a thing. So we address issues of communities. Build One South Africa as a movement. Its job is to address issues of communities. We don't only address them by going there and providing solutions, but we go to the people and we say, let's identify the problems that exist in this community. Let's together with the community find solutions to those problems. So for instance, where we operate in our universities, we speak to students and we say to them, in one of your lectures, you are probably sitting next to someone who has not had a meal since the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
And we know that you can get food from the dining room, or you can afford to at least donate a can of non-perishable food.
Yeah.
So we then invite the whole student community from that particular university. We say, there's 100 students on campus. Let's assist. Try and feed. You know, that's just as an example of some of the programs and projects that we do. We found that this allows for students to be more involved. And once obviously they are becoming more involved because of the program that we are doing, that gives them a bit of more knowledge about who we are, what we're trying to do. And safe to say that people are receiving us quite well, especially young people. They understand our ideas. They understand what we are trying to get them to do, which is re-engaging them with the politics of the country, which in the past, it's something that really has not been happening. So we feel that we are the voice, the new voice to re-engage our youth and get them to participate. And of course, we have our jobs plan that speaks to employing young people. It's creating 2 million jobs within the first term of government. So we realize that our young people are unemployed. So what they need is a job. So we speak to young people who are unemployed, who are looking for a job. We say to them, let's work together to make sure that this jobs plan becomes a reality, because it's going to save you, it's going to save your family, save your friends and everyone else. So we are doing very well with the young people.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Right. If you were to be put in power, right?
Sure.
The chair.
In governance.
Power
is
That's another word.
Power is another word, because
right.
you know what power is.
And you just said that the aim or the goal would be to at least create 2 million jobs.
Sure.
Right. We've heard this before.
Yeah.
For the past 5 years, we've heard, every year we'll create 100,000 jobs in the first 6 months and everything like that.
Sure.
And you understand that with how our minds function, as we've heard this song before, right? And of course, with people, with parties actually doing manifestos now, and there are a lot of promises that are happening, and some of them, wouldn't say not realistic, but do they think about them? How do you think that your solutions, right, because you understand the problems that we are going through, how do you think that your solutions are going to not only give the youth hope, but the belief that, okay, this is going to happen?
Sure.
No.
Sure. Go.
I think our slogan is more a job in every home, right?
Right.
It's a very different to 2 million job in here is what is going to happen.
Yeah.
A job, that's different, because we understand the complexity of our society and everything that needs to go in to make sure that there's a job in each and every single home, meaning skills development, training, education, so many facets that we need to look at to make sure that every household has a job in South Africa, right? We targeted 2 million of those in order. So it's not a thing of we're just going to wake up and, this is just going to happen. It's about making sure that we build an ecosystems that thrives, one, but also allows for job creation to happen, right? And that's dealing with the economy, that's dealing with our education system, that's dealing with skills development and learning support in South Africa. And that is able to produce a job, 2 million jobs in each and every single home. So that's the different take that we're not here to just make promises to South Africa as our previous government does and not deliver on it. We're saying we're going to work from a foundational level or up in our term to make sure that South Africa has a thriving market in every single household, 2 million households, if I can put it like that, has a job in each and every single household.
So each and every, so let's say rather each and every person in a household.
Like one person at least.
Is
because
working.
at least then there's some activity in the economy in a household. Because now you set it with households where no one is economic participant. Yeah. And that helps no one at this point.
Right.
So that's basically, what I want to say.
Just to add on that, what she is describing in terms of implementation, I want to speak about actually delivering these promises.
Yeah.
Our plan speaks to ensuring that infrastructure is upgraded in previously disadvantaged areas. You speak of townships, you speak of rural areas where it's become difficult for goods to go in and out, of course, of those areas because the roads are dilapidated. But not only that is a problem. Problem number 2 is that safety in those areas is very concerning. People die in townships, crime happens in townships, and it takes quite a long time for security forces to get to. You talk about in rural areas, there is no safety. That's why you've had big businesses pulling out of that economy, be it township or rural economy. So what we need to do is to make sure that we can optimize safety in townships and rural areas, optimize infrastructure in the very same places, and then invite and partner with big businesses to come and plant business opportunities and job opportunities in those areas. And this is something doable. It's tangible.
Yeah.
It's not like we're just saying, oh, we're gonna span you without even a plan of this spanning thing is gonna work. So it's a practical plan that you can actually see and we can implement. If we had a big investor invest in Soweto and start a huge firm of some sort, who gets involved? It's the people in Soweto, right? Mm-hmm. That will assist also in making sure that people don't have to wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. to try and get to Pretoria or try and get to Sandton for work.
Right.
They can work where they live. They can save and cut on costs for transportation and all those type of things. Mm-hmm. So our plan is tangible and it speaks directly to people who are affected by the biggest problem in South Africa right now, that of unemployment. My brother, I'm not sure if you've ever been unemployed.
I've been.
Unemployment strips you of your dignity, makes you feel naked. Mm-hmm. Because imagine as a young man, 29 or 30, probably at this point with a kid or two, still living at home in the back room with my old lady. And my old lady span. Ageko span.
Yeah.
But we're waiting for the 350 for the kids and then make my old ladies on pension. It comes in, but it doesn't go anyway. Really, it doesn't take you anywhere. It's not enough.
It's just a drop in the ocean.
It's just a drop in the ocean. In this very bad economy, where for you a household of 3 needs to buy more than 4,000 rands worth of groceries to survive the month. So a household of 5, 6, and none of those 5 or 6 people are employed. You can imagine how much that strips you of your dignity. So we want to restore the dignity of our young people. And we believe that if we can do that, we would have been able to achieve, to start a nation building project that will be able to address all the other ailments that they can find themselves in.
But I also believe that the deepest root to all of these problems and issues is inequality, right? Inequality is so visible now. There's a word inequality, but now it's like visible. You can see it. I mean, I didn't know that there's a section whereby a place is divided by, informal settlement there, and then there's a suburb this side. Yeah. How do we, and then how do we deal with that? Because I believe that that's the first step into tackling each and every problem that we have. Yeah. Because all of these things are there. Safety is there, right? Police services and everything is there. The building of infrastructure, it becomes available once we approach these times. And I'm not mentioning anybody or being controversial, but there's a lot of good things that have been happening that were supposed to happen years ago. Why now?
Yeah.
Right. So is it a way of campaigning?
Of course.
Is it a strategy of campaigning to saying, okay, we are going to introduce these people who are going to, be of safety in the city. Yeah. We are going to introduce these people during load shedding who are going to control the traffic. Yeah. Where were these initiatives before?
It's the last kicks of a dying horse. So it really is typical behavior of someone who realizes that, we've been caught out here. We've got to do something. I mean, you can see, even in the implementation of the things you mentioned, you speak of these, I'm not sure if you reference to that, but if you speak of crime wardens, you would also be speaking about these new metro cops that you see in the robots. My brother, since this term of government has been, the people who have been controlling traffic are the guys on the streets in exchange for a 2 rand.
Of course.
Untrained, with no clue what they are doing. But you know what? As drivers, we respect them because they are taking initiative, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, You have people, there's money to employ professional people to come and do that job. Where have they been all this time, as you rightfully said? Crime wardens, are they deployed to the city of Joburg? They are. But 2-3 weeks back, a student was shot outside of Bramford. In Bramford, just outside of that.
Yeah.
I would have expected that those crime wardens would have been manning the precincts of every university or institution of higher learning, but they are nowhere to be found. Do you know where I see them? I see them as sport on my weekend in their uniforms. So
Lie.
I'm not kidding you, bro.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. What I'm trying to say is even the implementation of what you say is progress, in as much as it's because we are approaching elections, it's poorly implemented because those guys are not doing the job they're employed to do. So it's cheap politicking, really. It is cheap politics.
So they didn't receive even enough training to actually do the job.
In fact, I've had a conversation with Amapanyaza. One of them told me, I asked the question. I asked him, my brother, if something was to go down here, bro, can I count on you? I kid you not. Real story. Bro was like, bro, if the gun goes off, I don't know what you do. If you run, I run. If you take cover, I take cover. I was like, but no, why?
Aren't you trained?
He's like, no, bro, 3 months is not enough. I mean, even I don't think a security guard gets trained only for 3 months. I think they get trained more than that.
It's more than that. They're always training.
Yeah, but you have a whole squad of people whom they spend more than, I don't know how many billions they spent training those people, getting them uniforms and BMWs and whatnot. They can't even protect me if something was to happen. It's a clear cheap politicking stunt, but also poorly implemented.
Which was supposed to be done years back.
Yeah, I want to say that. It's been 30 years that we've been waiting for this government to implement the things that they said they were going to implement in the first place. I think also we've given up our leaders. I say it that lightly because my leaders, but South Africa leaders, we've given them space to not be held accountable, right? But they also have made it easy because they've never, and I want to use this term smart, nothing that they give us is specific, measurable as a time. It's just promises, and then we just have to see when that promise is going to be fulfilled, right?
So we hold on to what they say.
Yeah, but that leaves room for us not to be able to keep them accountable, because if there's no time specific thing to a promise, then how are we keeping you accountable to that promise in the first place, right? So they've learned the tricks and the trade of how to maneuver around the citizens and stuff like that. I also would like to mention that the problems that we face, especially on the financial aspect that you're speaking about, I think there's a stat that says 80% of the wealth in South Africa belongs to the top 10%, I believe, the richest 10% in South Africa. So that's obviously a disparity it's generational. It's been years and years ago, and that should have been solved in this 30 years. Yeah. Right. And I think it still hasn't been solved. It probably is minimized in some levels as we've seen more Black affluent people rise up and become richer and all of those things. But the point stays that money is still not funneling.
But that's where they're supposed to.
That's where we come in now. That's what I was trying to say. Is that's where we come in.
Right.
We are known as a government and working, right? So we are not going to come into office and now all of a sudden start working. That's not the point. We have been working since now to show people, South Africa, to show civil society that, listen, here's a case study, or here's proof, or not even proof, but a track record of the work that we've been doing, not just in communities, but with small business, in order to make sure that everyone gains from what we do, right, holistically. And that means, he was speaking about, our township economy, all of those things, partnering in with businesses in order to obviously provide into the fund, and that fund would go into the businesses within the township. That way, we make sure that the money is constantly circulating and it's not just sitting at the top, 10%, but it's circulating throughout our nation, and everyone is able to share from the prosperity of our country. So, and I also want to say, we're not going to fix this tomorrow.
Of course.
We need to have that approach of sustainability.
You can't fix 30 years in 3 years.
People think when we say stuff like that, it's tomorrow everything is going to be fixed. I want to make that clear. You put us in government so that we are able to build that nation. And if we can't, you hold us accountable and remove us. That's as simple as it is. But at least we have a track record to show you that we've done it before, and we'll continue doing it, and we'll do it in government as well. So, yeah.
Now, going into the elections on the 29th, right?
Sure.
Of course, South Africans' emotions are high. The eagerness, anticipation. What do you foresee happening within our leadership or the governance of South Africa? Is it going to be a pie that is broken down into so many pieces?
Coalition is.
So
I want to say that.
studies show
Yeah.
that there's a high possibility of a coalition government.
Yeah.
So we just wait to see how it works. But obviously, the nature of our democracy allows for us to have a coalition government, and we think that probably this could be a way for us to.
Do you think coalition governance works?
They work?
We've
They
seen
do
it
work.
in Johannesburg.
Yeah,
Has
we've
it
seen it in Johannesburg. Let's rather take a case study from 2016 to 2019
Right.
in Johannesburg, where Amo Mohamme was actually the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And then you ask yourself,
track record.
who was leading that coalition government? Our very own leader was at the top of the negotiations of those coalition governments. That's why Amo Mohamme was able to stay mayor for as long as he did. Right? So we have a track record of managing coalitions. Coalitions government do work. We have a case study that I just referred you to. Jobbik during that time.
Yeah.
It worked. We believe that coalition governments can work only if we can, as parties, come to the table and say, before we speak about who we hate the most, before we speak about who is who, let's talk about what is it that we want to do for the people.
Yeah.
What service delivery points are we putting on the table? Let's agree on that first before we talk about who we coalition with. Whoever we coalition with is someone who would have agreed on what has been put on the table. Right. It's not based on we hate the ANC or we just don't like the EFF or we don't like all these other ones. It should be based on issues that are faced by the people on the ground and how we seek to solve.
Remember to put
problems.
the people's interest at
I
heart
want to say the people
first
are the
before
center of
anything.
all of this.
because I believe and I feel like that's not happening.
At the moment, it's not.
It's not.
It's really about
Let's just
personal-
cover this.
personal-
What are you going to
personal
do?
growth,
Yeah, no,
you
just
know.
join Mapanyaza
Yeah,
view, join the traffic,
Exactly.
and then
Let's
what's
see how
next?
much we can get.
Call
before
them
this world
there.
rise.
40,000 of them. They must be there.
Yeah.
All right, we good. Now
Sure.
we can eat it.
You
We
know?
don't want that. We've seen that, right? And we know that most of the people that try to voice out have been killed.
Yeah, they do.
You know, we know a few, and even in our small communities, it doesn't make it to national news,
Of
but
course.
we know that they were fighting for the right thing. You understand? So
Right.
going into these elections, yes, there is a possibility of a coalition governance,
Sure.
which is very scary for South
It
Africans
is
because
it's new politics. for
I
us.
mean,
it's a new
new.
facet of democracy. for
It's
us.
new, right? So this is something that we foresee, and as you said, study shows that it's going to happen.
It's possible.
Now, in closing,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like this conversation has to go on and
should
on.
go
And
on.
I
Why
think we
we
needed
can't-
like
Stop
2
it.
hours.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, man, yeah.
Still good.
In closing, right? How can people get a hold of you? How can people find you, especially young people going into these elections? Because yes, now people are, you know, doing manifestos, are mobilizing in communities. You know, how can people really get in touch with BOSA?
I can answer that as easy as we are on all social media platforms.
Yeah.
On Twitter, it's Build One South Africa, BOSA, you'll find it. Or our hashtag is Vote BOSA 2024.
Of course.
We are on Instagram, BOSA. We are on Facebook, BOSA. We are basically on all the
So each and every
one.
everything that's going to be
Sure.
happening in the nearest communities or anywhere, it's going to be
It's going
posted
to
there.
be posted there. In fact, we do have a WhatsApp channel as well. Brother, we are moving. Brother, we are moving. So yeah, we're good. And then obviously, as you speak of young people, so young people can reach us on our email, which
Yeah.
is ybm@bosa.org.za.
You heard that? YBM?
@bosa.org.za.
Yeah,
But lastly, sorry, I'll give you. Lastly,
I'm not even going to say something that
I
big,
want to encourage our people to vote for integrity. Let them vote for track record. Let them vote for leadership that they can trust. And we know exactly who that is. I think Moses Maimane, if not the only, he's probably in the top 3 or 4 of leaders in the country who have shown that leadership and leading a government is possible to do.
Yeah.
And efficiently so. So let's vote for that integrity. Let's vote for track record. 2029, vote BOSA.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like you said, vote for ethical leadership. Like, we need that. I mean, we are tired of everything that we've seen happening.
And we need transparency.
We need transparency. And with that, I wanted to add, if you, like I'm saying this face to face, if you are one of those young people who do not trust political parties or trust the promises that we are now giving to you right now, I want to invite you to come experience it yourself. And the best way to do that is just to volunteer, honestly speaking. That's where I started with BOSA. And it's been incredible ever since. And I've grown so much. And I want to encourage people to actually get involved in these political parties that they so claim they know or support, because then you can truly see what they're actually about. And I can promise you, if you join BOSA, you're actually going to see what we're about, and you're going to experience it, and you're going to love it. I haven't met many people who are like, we're here and now we don't like, you understand. Most people, even if they leave, they do still support the party because of how the way we do things. So I want to encourage you to get involved. Come be with us on the ground when we speak with the people. Please join us. Like, contact your nearest person. Visit our website.
Vote BOSA.
And vote BOSA. Honestly,
you heard that, right?
Right.
And as many would say that our 1994 is in 2024, and as a youth, we have a responsibility to change the whole narrative of our country. Remember that the future of our country is in our hands. On the 29th of May, let us go out and vote. Remember,
vote BOSA.
Vote for integrity
and ethics.
Vote BOSA.
For transparency.
Yes.
Make sure that
vote
you
for
follow
track
us
record
on Instagram, Doning Experience, Nakalibito Amo Mohamme. And thank you to the wonderful Doning Experience team for having me. Bona, follow me on all social media platforms. Amo Mohamme. Bye bye.